We live in a world where it is incredibly difficult to tell the difference between a bot or a human online, and that's only getting worse. And
the project, and does your new role working with WorldCoin differ from the privacy matters you previously dealt with, or are there some similarities there?
It's a great question. So I love solving problems that are at the cutting edge of technology and law and regulation. And so for me, WorldCoin and Tools for Humanity was a natural fit. We live in a world where it is incredibly difficult to tell the difference between a bot or a human online, and that's only getting worse. And so as AI and generative AI grows and continues to grow in terms of usage, we're just going to see that problem continue to get worse. And so WorldCoin and Tools for Humanity offers a solution that's going to allow humans to identify themselves online and then be able to tell the difference between a human and a bot in a digital world. So that's an incredibly important problem for the world to solve going forward. And so I'm actually really excited to be part of a company that's trying to solve that. Whether we'll be successful or not, different question, but it's a super exciting problem.
Bitcoin taking another leg down, falling to a February low of about $55,000. This move was pretty well anticipated. The trustee of the defunct Mt.Gox exchange has begun repayments to creditors, which it said last week it would start sometime in July. So that had some in the market concerned that creditors would be selling some of that Bitcoin this month after waiting more than 10 years for a resolution. Mt.Gox went bankrupt, of course, after a major hack in 2014. So that is hitting the market in a bigger way right now. I like how Zach Pandel from Grayscale framed it the other day when I spoke with him. You think back to how closely we've been watching the Bitcoin halving this year. That was a known positive supply event. It lowered the amount of Bitcoin supply being produced, and now we have this other source of Bitcoin supply coming in and sort of negating those positive effects of the halving in the short term. And it is not just Mt.Gox. The declines really began last week when the US and German government sent large amounts of previously seized Bitcoin to exchanges. So, you're seeing Coinbase and MicroStrategy stumbling, and of course miners across the board are down, and in the past 24 hours, $152 million in long Bitcoin liquidations in the derivatives market. But again, this is just a short-term move, nothing that fundamentally alters the positive long-term outlook for Bitcoin, which still has quite a lot going for it. And then 57K has been the key support level to watch. That has, of course, now been breached, obviously, and if it hangs here for too long, then 49K would become new support.
Bitcoin hitting its lowest level since late February today, dropping below $54,000 at its lows of the session. The digital currency tanking after Mt.Gox, the Japanese Bitcoin exchange that went bankrupt a decade ago, said it's beginning to pay back creditors in Bitcoin. That could result in nearly $9 billion worth of coins being dumped onto the market. The rival Ether dropped about 5% itself. It has now lost more than a quarter of its value since hitting an all-time high in February. At one point today, $170 billion had been wiped out of the crypto market. But where are the coins going from here? Let's check in with the chart master Carter. You've got a Chartapalooza coming to our way.
Yeah, and we can move through them fairly quickly. There are 3 long-term charts and 3 short-term charts. But the question is, before we look at that, weakness to take advantage of or weakness to stay away from? It gets down to that. It's one or the other. Let's figure it out together. This goes back to 2015, Bitcoin at 200. Now let's annotate it. First chart, second chart. You can see the lines are well defined. You can call that an ascending triangle. You can call it whatever you want. But we know that we attempted to break out, third chart, and we didn't. Now the question is, do we drift back to the uptrend line? And that's perfectly tolerable, normal, or is something worse afoot? Let's go to the short-term charts and try to figure it out. So here is just over the past 2 years. Let's do the same thing. Let's annotate it and put some lines in. Those are mathematically parallel lines, Tyler, and we are down to the lower band of this well-defined channel from which we've moved 18,000 to almost 70. And so my hunch here is that you buy this dip. It should be noted that since January of 2023 to present, we've had 6 20% plus sell-offs. This one is 27%. My hunch is it's weakness to take advantage of rather than weakness to stay away.
Social media platform X will be given a formal warning for failing to combat dangerous content online. If X doesn't make changes required by the EU and its Digital Services Act, it could receive fines worth 6% of its revenue. The EU recently gave similar warnings to Apple and Meta.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And if you're new to crypto, yes, you heard that correct. Bots versus humans. Guys, the Hegelian dialectic is already changing. It's no longer going to be black versus white or whatever divisions that we have inside of humanity. Now it's man versus machine. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Remember when we had all these bots on social media, they kept acting like they were trying to get rid of them. Now we know they're clearly here to stay. These bots, these deepfakes is here to stay. And we see these bots on social media playing the Hegelian dialectic. You actually have people arguing with these bots. But WorldCoin doing tools for humanity is all about digital ID, guys. Remember, there's steps. This is a plan. It moves in phases. And when it comes to the workforce, the new competitor to humanity is the robots, algorithms, and drones. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Guys, make sure you go to my TikTok. Make sure you click on follow. Let your kids watch it, because the fourth industrial revolution is all about the millennials and Generation Z. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Bitcoin and crypto taking a dip, and guys, Mt.Gox has been the narrative. But as we know, the Fed is just not going to say, I took your money. Not just Bitcoin is taking a hit, the whole crypto market. And we know the only one that can dump us like this is the Fed. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have X getting a warning from the EU. But guys, we know this is all about data. These social media platforms are not going to change. And then, guys, we have Ozempic. Yes, you're losing weight, but you're not going to be able to see it. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. Instead of exercising and eating right and losing weight the right way, they want to give you a drug. Remember, guys, do not fall for the devil's tricks. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
New study finding that people taking Ozempic and Wegovy may be at an increased risk of developing an eye condition that can cause irreversible vision loss. The author saying, however, that more studies are needed to confirm a link. Join us now, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, former FDA commissioner and a CNBC contributor. What do you know about this, doctor? And I assume it's so widely used now, we would know if it was any type of significant percentage as far as a risk. But I mean, even a slight risk of something like that seems like it's something that we need to talk about or think about.
I think that's right, Joe. I think if this was very prevalent, we would see it, given this population of patients now on these drugs. This was a well-done study by a group of physicians at Massachusetts Eye and Ear. They had observed anecdotal reports of this condition, non-arteritic anterior ischemic optic neuropathy, in patients who were on the drug, and then decided to go back and look at the hospital's records to see whether or not there was a correlation between patients who were taking these drugs and a higher incidence of this really devastating side effect where you get ischemia to the optic nerve and it could cause temporary or permanent blindness. And they did find an increased incidence of the condition in patients who were prescribed the drug either for diabetes or obesity. That doesn't establish a causal relationship. They're going to need to do better studies now going forward, and I think this is going to trigger further investigations. And there's also a randomized study underway by Novo looking at whether or not there's an association between diabetic retinopathy and these drugs. And so that study is probably going to be amended to look for this side effect as well, I would imagine. So there's going to be a lot of investigations going forward. I think regulators are going to get to the bottom of this. I'm sure they're looking at this study. But it's certainly intriguing, and I think it certainly merits further follow-up given the care that these physicians took in doing this retrospective study. It is a little perplexing because these drugs are thought to protect against inflammation and be neuroprotective, and so it's perplexing what the exact mechanism would be. But we do know that vision disturbances are already in the labels of these drugs. When you get rapid correction in metabolic parameters, and particularly blood glucose, that can cause visual changes. And there's also been suggestions that there's a correlation with diabetic retinopathy, which with potentiating that condition as well. So we already knew that there was some association between these drugs and visual disturbance, just not this condition.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, It's Time to Re-Educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.